We will just quickly revise what we have covered in all the explanations that we have done till now. Open your books, sit straight, be attentive. Now, the chapter deals with the major domains of the earth. Domains mean the major elements, the major components which form the earth. So, which are the three major domains? First is lithosphere. And the word lithos comes from the Greek word which means rocks. That is the solid portion. That is the soil portion of the earth, the crust of the earth, the basic layers of the earth. Then the second component or domain of the earth is the hydrosphere. Now, when we talk of hydro, the word Huda of hydrosphere comes from again the Greek word it is and means water. Then the third element which forms the major domain of the earth is atmosphere. And the word atmos is again a Greek word and it comes from this Greek word atmos, which means vapor or water. Clear? So uh, that is the outer layer of the earth, atmosphere. Okay. Then we talk of the fourth and the most important domain, that is biosphere. Now, biosphere is that part which deals with a part of atmosphere, a part of hydrosphere, and a part of lithosphere. And this could be easily seen through this particular diagram. Can you see here? This particular diagram, which shows you three circles. Now, this first particular circle deals with, just a second, children. Yes. Now, the first particular circle, if we talk of this particular circle, it is atmosphere. If we talk of this particular circle, it is lithosphere. If we talk of this particular circle, this is hydrosphere. Now, this where all the three layers are working together, where a portion of atmosphere, a portion of lithosphere, and a portion of hydrosphere makes the living of an organism possible, that layer is called, that combination is called biosphere. Now, air is here also, but do we go to the space and have it? No. We have it near the Earth's surface. Now, lithosphere, the Earth's surface, outer crust is used by us. Same goes with hydrosphere, the above layers of water. Basically, when we talk of, we are using the outer crust, we are using the closer air, and we are using the upper layer of atmosphere. Sorry, hydro. This area totally turns out to be a biosphere. I hope I'm clear. Then we move on to talking of the major domains in detail. And when we talk of major domains in detail, we talk of lithosphere first, where we talk that the major portion of the earth crust comprises of the word lithosphere. It comprises of rocks and minerals, the crust, and then the soil that it covers. Now, they also told us that 29% of the earth is big, huge landmass, and that those land masses are basically called the continents. Then they told us that nearly 71% of the earth is made up of water, and the huge water bodies being referred to as oceans. Then they talked of that let's say at certain places it is as the mountains, and they have told us about the Mount Everest. the highest peak. Then the land is also deep at places. Now, see, this is the highest point, and then there are some deep points of the land. All this is land area, and this is the deepest point of the land area, and that is called a trench. And the deepest point of the landforms is the Mariana Trench. They have told you of this, and they have talked of Mount Everest being the highest mountain. You can see Mount Everest here. You can see Mariana Trench here. Okay. Now then they talked of the two terms as isthmus and strait. Now isthmus, they told you that two land masses, when they are connected by a narrow strip of land mass, that is called isthmus. When two water bodies such as huge as oceans, and when they are connected by a small little sea or a stream of water, that is called a strait. I hope I'm clear till here. Then they talked of
Yes, ma'am.
the thank you, children, for encouraging and replying. I'm taking up the whole lesson once again so that you are just revising the whole lesson, okay? Because it's a pretty long lesson and most of the terms are new to you. That means you have read about Asia, but what about it? You have read about Africa, but what about it? So, all these details you have never done, so I'm just quickly picking up. Okay, so now they also told you that there are seven major continents, and at the same time, they have also told you about the four major oceans, or rather, the fifth ocean, which is the Southern Ocean, which is a part of three major oceans: Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Ocean. So there are basically seven continents and five, uh, four major oceans, and the fifth is the Southern Ocean. Okay. Uh, Now they told you about the tectonic plates. Now this they have not told in details, so even we will not go into details. Now all we need to know is through this particular, I will try to show you. Now supposing this is the Earth's crust. Supposing this is the Earth's outer layer. Now when there are certain layers inside the Earth, okay? There are certain layers. When these layers clash with each other. They clash with each other, then there is a sudden rise of it, and this results in a mountain with the clashing of these tectonic plates. Yeah, there is a formation of a mountain. Why? Because they come closer. This layer, just a second, this layer plus this layer, they come closer, make a collision, and they give rise to a mountain. So these are tectonic mountains, the plates and or the layers of the earth, they rise up. Now, in the second case, the layers of the inside the earth, if they move away from each other, if they drift away, then it results in a trench here. Okay, so it is the tectonic movements which have resulted this basically the work which we see now. These continents that you see today were first all linked together. This South Africa, if you see, was once a part of this area. You know, this South area, South Africa fits here. This North America fits somewhere here in this area. Clear? So all these continents were basically one land masses, and because of the tectonic movements, they have drifted away. They have shifted away. They have broken and formed basic continents. Okay. Then they talked of the uh, largest continent being Asia and the smallest being Australia. They also talked of certain important features of Asia continent? They said it's a continent of extremes. Now, why was it called a continent of extremes? Because it has the extremist, the highest mountain range here, that is the Himalayas. Then it has the highest plateau here, that is Tibet. Then it has the lowest part, that is the Dead Sea. So all these highest and lowest being found here. So the extreme type of places have been found here. That is why it is known as the continent of extremes. Then they talked of Africa. They told us that it is the Mediterranean Sea in the north which separates it from Europe. So this is the Mediterranean Sea which separates it from Europe. Just a second, children. Okay. So this is the Mediterranean Sea which separates it from Europe. Children, why I'm getting such a thick? I want a. Oh my God. How do I get a thick, thin pen? Oh,
Ma'am, drag it to the lower side.
Yes, ma'am.
more. Now is it okay? Yeah, thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, kids. You all are smarter. So
Welcome,
this
ma'am.
portion, okay. So this portion is the Mediterranean Sea, okay, and it is separated from Europe. This is Europe. So Europe is separated from Africa with the Mediterranean Sea, okay. Then they told us that the continent is connected to Asia by a narrow strip of land called Isthmus of Suez. Now, this is Isthmus of Suez, okay? And how is it? It is connected with Asia through a narrow strip of land, this Isthmus, this area. Can you see here, this area? So, this is Isthmus of Suez. Then they told us that the equator or 0-degree latitude passes through the middle of Africa. So you can see here, let me quickly show you here. This is the 0-degree. Can you see here? And it passes from here. Then they told us that the major portion of this continent is in the northern hemisphere. You all can see it. Now, it is only connected through which it is the only continent through which the Tropic of Cancer, the equator, and Tropic of Capricorn pass. So you can see here, this is the Tropic of Cancer, this is the Tropic of Capricorn, which is passing through it. Okay. Then they told us that Great Rift Valley and the vast deserts are found here. They told us about the mountains like Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro. Please underline and remember these names. Then they talked about the longest river of the world, and that is the Nile River. Okay. Now, another thing that we came to know is that it is known as a dark continent. Why is it called a dark continent? Why? Because for years to come, it was not even known to the people. The people did not know that there's a continent called Africa existing somewhere. So, since it wasn't dark, nobody knew about it. That is why it was known as a dark continent. Then we come on to the third continent, that is North America. And as you can see, the North America is to the extreme side of your left hand on in the northern hemisphere top. Okay. Now, North America has vast plateaus, mountain ranges, extensive plains, glaciers, and then they told us that there are five major lakes which are present here. If you see this, these are the five major lakes. Can you see this small area here? These are the lakes, and these five Great Lakes are between Canada and USA. And then there's the St. Lawrence River, which is flowing, and that provides a great water supply for this whole big, huge continent. And you can see the number of water bodies inside North America. Can you see these patches of in brown? There's a patch of blue in between. So these are the water bodies which are inside, and they make the possibility of water inside this. They talk of the highest mountain, the highest point being and the lowest is the Death Valley. Okay, then they talk of South America. Now, South America is here, and they are telling you that Mount Aconcagua is the highest peak in the Andes, and among them there is one mountain, Mount Aconcagua, which is the high, and the lowlands occupy about half of the South America. That means nearly half of South America is a low-lying area. Okay, then Amazon. You all must have heard about this name. So Amazon is the largest river of the world. Nile being the longest, Amazon being the largest. And it is the most important river of this particular continent. Then we talk of Antarctica, this particular continent. Can you see me on your screens? Antarctica. Now, this is the largest continent in the world, and it lies totally in the southern hemisphere towards the northern and the southern poles. And the pole area is totally is visible if you turn the earth upside down, and then you see this is the southern area which Antarctica occupies. It is the inverted southern side. Okay, so here you can also see that it is surrounded by Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. Now that is why all these three oceans together, near the Antarctica, they are known as Southern Ocean. Okay, I repeat that since all these three oceans are a major part of forming the Southern Ocean. This is the Pacific Ocean, this is the Atlantic Ocean, this is the Indian Ocean, and all these three together they are surrounding Antarctica. That is why this area is also this particular area near the continent is also known. Antarctica is also known as the Antarctic or the Southern Oceans. Okay. Then they told us that the continent Antarctica is also known by another name as the continent of science. Now, since it is very cold here and life is not very much possible, so people living here basically are the Eskimos or the igloo, and they form igloos or the tents made of snow, and they live here. But life is quite difficult. So all the other continent people, the scientists of all the other continents, come here for geographic stays, and they have made their own stations here for learning, for scientific knowledge, for weather forecast, for the type of climate here, for the type of animal life here. You all must be knowing that seal, walrus, and the kiwi, etc., penguins, all are found here. Not kiwi, penguins, all are found here. So that is why it is known as the continent of science. And India also particularly has two stations here, two scientific stations or geographic stations here to study the weather, etc. And which are those two stations? Maitri and Dakshin Gangotri. I hope I'm clear till here. Then moving further is the next continent, Europe. And Europe is very much closely connected with Asia continent. And we come to know that there are many active volcanoes in this continent, especially Mount Blanc is the highest peak in the Alps. Now we know that it is totally in the temperate zone. Then the Arctic Circle passes through it, and we all know that Arctic Circle passes from 66.5 degrees. So you all can see that Arctic Circle passes here from here. If you want, I can just mark it for you. Arctic Circle is passing somewhere from here. Oh, it went a little wrong. The Arctic Circle passes. Okay. Uh, Is it 66 and a half? You can just count and see. Okay. Then the Europe is a continent of high mountains and vast plains. And we all know that, just a second, Mount Elbrus is the highest mountain peak in Europe. Then we talk of Australia. This is small little continent here. Now it is also known as an island continent. Why? Because it is surrounded by water from all sides. Then it is also known as a continent country. Why? Because it is also a continent and a country also. Okay, like Asia is a continent, one huge continent, whereas India is one country, Pakistan is another, China is another, and so many others. So, two, three, four, 10 countries, maybe many countries form a continent. But here in Australia, if you see, you will see only one country, that is Australia, is forming a continent. So it is a continent plus a country. So it's a continent country plus it's also a island continent. Why? Because it is surrounded by water from all the sides. They talk of Great Barrier Reef, which is a unique feature. Now, these barrier reefs, they are made of corals. वो जो seashells होते हैं वो आकर के deposit हो जाते हैं and they form the barrier reef kind of a structure. Okay. Then we began with the hydrosphere, where we talked of the hydrological cycle. We talked of the southern hemisphere, which is a water hemisphere. We talked of the northern hemisphere, which is a land hemisphere. Okay. And why the northern hemisphere is the land hemisphere? Because major continents lie in the northern hemisphere and major water surrounds the southern side. That is why it is the water hemisphere. Okay. Then we talk of, just a second. Then we talk of the oceans, and we came to know that there are 71% of the Earth's surface, which is covered with oceans. There are huge oceans which are salty water in them, and the four major ones among them are the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, and the Arctic Ocean. And the fifth one, as in some books it is given, is the Southern Ocean, which we have already discussed, the area near the the body the Southern Ocean. Now we know that the Pacific Ocean is in the shape of a circle. It's a circular in shape, and Mariana Trench, that is the deepest part of the Earth, is found here in this particular ocean. Okay, and it is the largest of all. Many islands are found here. Three-fourths of the world's active volcanoes are found here. Then we talked of Atlantic Ocean, where we talked of that it is of S-shaped, it is S-shaped, and it is the busiest ocean. Why? Because it is very much famous for its trade and commerce. It has very many indented coastlines. That means the coastlines are broken up into smaller sections so that there are harbors possible for ships to settle down. So it is the busiest ocean. It is connecting so many continents together. Then we talk of Indian Ocean, which is named after the country India, that is our country. And we have a little soft corner and an attachment for Indian Ocean. Why? Because it is named after our country. Then we talked of the Arctic Ocean, which is located in the Antarctic Circle and it surrounds the northern pole. It is covered with ice throughout and has big, huge, icebergs, you can say. It is connected with the Pacific Ocean by a narrow stretch of shallow water known as Bering Strait. Okay, then there's another ocean which is known as the Southern Ocean or the Antarctic Ocean. Now, it is found in the area near the Antarctica and it is made up of the extension of Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, and Atlantic Ocean. Here till here. Then we talked of the importance of oceans. And oceans have been have been serving very many purposes. They keep a check on the moisture of the place. They keep a check on ocean currents. They are the areas, they are the places to supply us with, seafood, etc. They have the mineral deposits inside them, like petroleum, natural gas, etc. And so, basically, they are very important. And the last, but not the least, is the oceans have been a big and very prominent means of transport since ages, since ancient times. We have seen that they have been a very important means of transport. In the end, they talked of seas. Seas are the small water bodies. They are not as big as oceans. The areas lying near to the continents, and if it is a water body, it is basically called a sea. Okay, we did till here. Is everything clear till here? I have tried to cover up the entire chapter in this small little class till what we have read. Is this much clear, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
lovely
ma'am.
class. So, so for this